those are amazing moments, So,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want to brush over this one thing. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about well, there's a couple of things. I want to talk to you about your Lick Library thing, because I definitely want to talk to you about your time with Scott too. But how did the Lick Library thing happen?
So, so I was in Massachusetts at the time, doing a few bar gigs, and I was on Facebook. Facebook had just kicked off when Facebook was usable. Like, you could post something and you could actually meet people and share things and have decent conversations and not be in an echo chamber and all that jazz. But so I would post things, and I obviously followed Andy James on Lick Library. I was learning all of his tapping and stuff, and he was obviously he still is a big name, of course, but he was Lick Library's main tutor, really, apart from Guthrie depped in a few times. There was Jamie Humphreys, there was just Danny Gill, and
who was the gentleman?
Andy was my guy. Sorry,
Andy was your guy. Okay.
Andy was my guy at the time for the shred thing, because there was no one else. Again, it was great tuition. It was simpler stuff than the Chops from Hell stuff, but still like burning, so it was very useful to learn. Right. Anyway, I'd added him up on Facebook, and my band, Massachusetts, supported his old band, Sacred Mother Tongue.
Sacred Mother Tongue. I remember it.
Right. And it was like this club in Reading here in the UK. Nobody was there apart from the bands. And he saw me play, and afterwards, I love Andy. Like, he's the most British, dry humor, doesn't give a fuck kind of. He's the kind of hero that people, when they meet him, it can be hit and miss. Like, he's very loving and sociable, but he's very to the point, like, dry humor. And I think I went up to him and I said, "I'm such a fan of your playing." And he's like, "Yeah, a lot of people." I have lived this, but it was something like, "Yeah, kind of. So what? This has been a shit gig. I'm going to go," kind of thing.
Wow.
Because it was a bit of a dive. He was not in an ego way. I think everyone, those gigs where it's just everyone feels like it's been a bit of a waste of time.
Yeah.
Because the promoter's not promoted it, and the bands haven't. Whatever the thing is, it's just not kicked off. And I think Andy was a bit frustrated, to his credit. And of course, I'm forever thankful to Andy. Every time I see him, I'm just like, thank you, even though it's been years since. But going back, I think he accepted my request on Facebook. He'd seen me play live, he'd seen my videos. And then I went to watch him at a clinic down the road from me and turn up. And he goes, he was on the mic, and he goes, guess who's just turned up, everybody? It's Sam Bell. And everyone looks around and they're like, who? Who's that? But he'd remembered, and I think in his mind, I don't know, he had a perception maybe. And afterwards he came up to me and he said, they want me to do a Tosin Abasi 8-string technical session, like write a piece of music in the style of Animals as Leaders, teach it, present it. But he said, I don't want to touch an 8-string, I don't want to do that crap. And I think he wasn't too happy with Lick Library at the time. I think he was looking for an exit. So I went up to the Romford, where the studio is, which is 2 hours from me, near London. And I get there, I've prepared my piece, I practiced it over and over again. And, I've really, because Andy was there, he was just eating a bratwurst sausage straight out of the packet, like watching me. Like, come on.
I so can see that.
And I did it. And afterwards he said, it was lovely. He smashed it, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't offer me the job, but basically everybody in Lick Library then said, come and do a course, do the magazine as well, Guitar Interactive as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me a platform. And I did a whole series of extended range guitar lessons for them that's now on Guitar Interactive for some reason. Anyway, they're both joined. And then Andy eventually left and started his own Shred Academy, and now he's off Five Finger Death Punch and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And during my weird breakdowny kind of time when I was flipping around doing all kinds of things, I think I almost lost Lick Library, because I think they were just like, because I was being such a detriment to myself, But fortunately, at the time they had Rick Graham and Tom Quayle,
Yeah.
And Guthrie had I think he'd been in a few years before, did a webcast, which is quite popular on YouTube and stuff. And he's a friend of the company. He lives near Chelmsford's, not far from Mumford. It's a small town. I would sometimes go and watch his band, The Fellowship, down the road. It'd be like a pub, and there'd be like 50 people there, and it'd be just.
Oh man, really?
And Guthrie's just having a pint whilst
Of course, yeah, I saw him. So he was doing that. Tony, he was doing the head to Donna Lee.
Yeah.
With one hand, and I forget what else he was doing. I don't think he was drinking a pint because he was in front of a class. But he's playing the head to Donna Lee. It perfectly in time. I'm like, anyway, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. I feel like I'm going on, but all I'm saying is really, I almost lost it because I was going a bit mental in my mind and not delivering my lessons. But then a few years, as I got myself a bit more sound of mind, I think they've been really kind to me, and now I'm doing stuff. I do stuff every month for them now. I've probably done about 300 courses for them now, plus our classic albums series, learning those albums, teaching them. I'm back in next week. It's monthly. I'm in filming. And,
so how do you prepare? Like they send you, say you're doing a Steve Vai course. Because I saw some of the clips. I mean, I've seen your stuff. It's absolutely fucking brilliant.
Thank you.
And when you do so how do you prepare? Like, obviously you're learning the tunes, but is there something else that you do when you're preparing for? I mean, that's got to be somewhat of a high pressure gig, right? I mean,
it's not as high pressure as people think. It is high pressure in the sense that you got to learn your stuff and play it to a fair standard. They'll give me like a quota of work. We want these courses. Some of it's like theoretical stuff, which is quite easy to prepare because it's like a lesson, one-to-one lesson, basically. I'm just making tabs and learning how to present it. But the albums and songs, I use Transcribe, the software. I go by ear. I make my own shorthand notes. I earmark each phrase.
Okay.
I learn it once as I go through, write it down, then I turn up on the filming day. I listen and I play and I teach. Listen, play, teach. I don't remember. And the problem is there's so much information, so much technical information I can't put. I've done it with the Paul Gilbert DVD I did many years ago. I memorized everything. There's only 5 tracks, but I was kind of a bit less experienced, but it was 3 months of learning. And, I did Extreme Pornograffiti the end of last year, the year before that, I think 2021. I had 2 weeks from learning to filming, and then 3 performances of 3 of the main tracks. So those tracks I perform, I put more work into.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. You're doing that at their studio.
Yes.
Okay.
But the other songs, I often just I teach the parts, and if most of the parts I can play normally, they're kind of simple. The hardest stuff is like the weird improvised bluesy phrases.
Yeah.
They're just like off the cuff things. They're horrible to teach. Sometimes I have to sort of break it down to the point and go, look, it's kind of like this, but it's from this scale, and it's them just going for it. I think the viewer appreciates that more, and when they get the proper stuff. I've done that. There's a few dime bag licks I did on Cowboys from Hell, and there's one at the end of Truth in Shredding. And I just got to the end of the deadline, and it's there's just one phrase, and it just wasn't, the muscle memory wasn't kicking in for the speed. So I just taught it at half speed and said to listen. So there are certain moments I don't like to do that, just for my own ego, because I want to learn stuff. But the thing is, as soon as I walk out the studio after 3 days, it's 3-day shoot sometimes for those things. 3 days.
Okay.
8 hours a day. They edit it all and take it away. But as soon as I leave, I forget everything. I wish I could remember. I wish I could sit here now and just bat off like all the Steve Vai stuff I learned, and because I feel like that'd be really cool. But
no, I understand that. I understand like letting it go. I directed a Dream Theater show for a School of Rock over here, and it was, But as soon as the show is over, see ya.
Yeah.
It was gone.
But
I don't know. I think there's a RAM space that, like, when you're executing it, you're at full. I wanted to ask you this question too, so I don't want to interrupt, but that you're at full. You're hitting on all pistons, and then when you turn the engine off, it's like that's it.
Yeah.
Next.
I'm a terrible person for, there's parties or there's occasions of friends, and they say, there's a guitar, and they say, play us a song. And I've got certain things, maybe. But I remember when I was in a show band, I'd memorized like 300 songs for the show band, all songs that people probably would know, all classic Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, bloody Kaiser Chiefs,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And when they said to me, play a song, nothing. But when when I'm on stage that night and they kind of go,
same
1,
way.
2, 3, 4, it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a lot in my lessons and some of the blogs I do for Lick Library, and spirituality is quite an important thing in my life. That's quite a loaded word. I'm not a new age woo kind of thing. I'm very pragmatic about this, but the body is a system. It's like a tree. It just does what it has to do in its own time. You can't make it go faster with any of it. You can put the information in. You have to trust it. So, you need. That's what practice is. It's kind of reminding and programming and taking time. And sometimes it just doesn't. No matter how hard you will it just sometimes can't happen. I found in my personal experience. And sometimes there's also trusting the process of that learning. And some of that stuff remains from the project in the muscle memory, because most of what we play, even if we think we're playing by ear and we're being very creative, kind of is the body just kind of doing its thing. And then I was kind of going, that way, this way, kind of, I think that's a realistic way of looking at it, rather than like improvising pure music, just with no influence, which I think is maybe just a dream. Even like John Coltrane, who's got streams of consciousness, it's still a beautiful, just an elaborate language that he is able to manipulate, and he's able to let go of the idea of himself just for a moment, just to let the body and the ears go that way, which is amazing. Yep. This has gone off on a different tangent than I expected. Bringing it back to mundane.
It's a beautiful thing. That's what improvisation is all about, right?
Yeah, just, enjoying the flow of it all. But
the flow, right?
But we're no different than a tree, right? You can't tell a tree to speed up. It's just going to grow it in its own time, and it's the same with licks and learning. And it's just got to keep watering it, give it good weather. Make sure it's in a good spot with not much competition to get other roots over the roots. Just let it do its thing. And that's how I kind of approach most of the learning I do. I'm not super regimented. I used to try to be regimented because everyone told me that Steve Vai had a 10-hour practice routine and you must practice 10 hours a day. But most of my practice has happened through failing a lot, lots of gigs, and pressure from just like tomorrow, next week, there's this, do your best.